Cool.
Welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice. It's been about a month ago, but we are back with Just Cardboard. We teased a couple of things at the end of the last episode. We talking about pods that you play in, and my Lord Windgrace deck and how awful it is. But we're going to talk about that and a little bit more. First of all, thank you so much for joining me again.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me again. I'm super excited to be here.
I love it. I'm glad we're talking more about Lord Windgrace. Let's just jump right into it. One of the questions that I teased that I was going to ask before is tell me about the pods that you play in, the people that you play with.
So lately it's been a little bit more scarce, me being able to actually go to the LGS and play. I've been playing more on Spell Table, which has been a great learning experience. Learning how to play on Spell Table has been fun. But the pods I typically play with at the LGS is either my standard pod is more play more finely tuned mean magic, as I'd like to call it.
Okay.
It's where all of our decks kind of sit at the same spiciness level, where we
Okay.
don't have to hold any punches. We can play the mean land destruction mill decks things, and people aren't going to get upset because that's what my main pod is used to.
How how did you find that? Do you play with the same group of individuals, or do
These
people just know when they play with you that they're going to get what they're going to get?
So the my main group I've basically been playing with since I started Magic at the LGS.
Okay.
We've kind of migrated from one LGS to another. My original LGS that I used to go to, they shut down pre-COVID, not due to COVID, but pre-COVID.
Okay.
Um, and one of the guys that I was friends with who like helped out, chipped in, worked there and everything. After COVID, he actually opened up his own card shop.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So when he did that, I found that out, started going there, realized everybody from the original shop went to this shop. So I was like, wait a minute, my family's all here. I'm like,
That's
we're
a
good.
nice. Awesome.
So that's how I kind of found them. And it was at the old LGS, we all just everybody played with everybody. And it was kind of crazy because we were all always on a consistent power level,
Okay.
which is weird because this new LGS, it's definitely not like that. There's pods of people who every time they come in, they have new decks. They haven't fully learned them. And I feel like the my core play group is that we know the decks well enough to play them at the higher level where we're not too concerned with what's actually happening. We can play the land destruction and the milling and the things like that without having to be like, is this the right move to blow up everybody's lands right now or should I wait? So I feel like the pod is just we are more consistently playing the same decks and the decks are evolving with us over time. And I think that is kind of how we came in as that pod. And I know if I see any of them, if we sit down and it's not at least three of us, we have to explain to people who we're playing what decks we want to play. Or we'll typically ask them and then we know how to basically either underplay our decks or like me, I have like 5 decks that are just constantly works in progress that
Hmm.
are at lower power levels that I don't mind whipping out just to basically test other people's power level per se is
Right. Right.
because everything's a 7. We all know that.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where people are like, okay, this deck's a 7. Well, let me play it against what I consider my like 4 and let me actually see if our minds are the same. But that's only because playing for 11 years, my 7 is different just because of the fact that I may have been playing a little bit more and my understanding of the way my deck works might be a little bit more solidified
For sure.
than them. And
Right.
yeah, that's how we figure out how to play pods is just kind of off from current in progress decks and the main pod just we still are at that power level And it was cool because when I first ran back into everybody, they were kind of happy that to see me playing at that power level, because most people at the LGS aren't at the level that we were at the other one, because I played Zuladoc and I was cascading Eldrazi's, and I
Oh,
was able to do that very, very quickly. And they were like, "Oh, so we're playing this kind of Magic." I'm like, "That's what we always used to play." So yeah, the pods I typically play in nowadays are not as powerful unless we all agree on it being a spicy game, and then typically I'll end up being arch enemy and am normally able to fend it off for a while, but I typically go down either first or second just because I know I'm the threat and it's the right decision.
it's the right decision for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
never mad about that.
Well,
No.
I've learned to accept that too. I feel like I sometimes, so I don't want to, so I'm trying to figure out how to say this without coming off as being, without having hubris, but like, or to sound like I'm bitter or whatever. But like I've come to accept, or I look at it from the standpoint, instead of complaining about it, instead of bringing it up or whatever, I just think about it like, was it the right thing to take me out first, even if I didn't have the board state that warranted it?
Yep.
And fair enough, if I really think about it, most of the time it is still the right choice, and I have to live with that, and I should be happy with that.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm trying to adjust my mindset to be. It's like, you know what? I'm happy, because if they didn't, there's always a chance, and I'm sort of infamous for this, of pulling a win out of nowhere, or out of
Me
killing
too.
somebody just instantly, the tainted remedy and the beacon of immortality, and then boom, like they're dead. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe you should have killed me first. But anyhow, that's it. But trying to get back on topic, because I could just go off there. You upgraded your Windgrace deck since last time we talked. What's that
Yes.
about? Was there a need for it,
So,
or you just
um, after talking to you last time, I realized that I had no graveyard protection. So I did. I went through and I added some graveyard protection. I added some that you recommended. I did add Elixir of Immortality. I added the one that shuffles your graveyard back into your deck and prevents combat
blush for
damage.
spite? Yeah.
Yep. And then there's one more that is slipping my mind and I forgot to pull it out. What one did I pull? But I realized as I'm looking for that, I continue to talk. I realized that that was a huge hole in my deck, is that if I came up against anybody who actually knew how to combat my deck, that I was going to just lose and not really combat my deck per se, because a lot of the people that I have played, they knew how to just get rid of the graveyard, and that's the thing. But
Right.
a lot of people that I played against and still do play against don't run a lot of it.
Hmm.
So now that I've kind of been talking more about the deck and everything, a lot of people have come to realize, oh, that's all you got to do to stop the deck? Yeah, you get rid of my lands in the graveyard and my deck does nothing,
Right. Right.
as does any Windgrace. So I added those, and I can't seem to find what the third one was. But I know I added a third one in there.
Okay.
I just can't seem to remember. I know there's at least two, but I did add some graveyard protection. But then on top of that, I realized that I was just running too many creatures that were good and fit the theme of the deck and did what I wanted to do. But there was always something better I could play or I would rather have in hand.
Gotcha.
So I added Blasphemous Act and Blasphemous Edict, because I was like, okay, let's add some more board wipes, like things to
Always
protect
more.
me. Added a couple more ways to bring things back from my graveyard, like Noxious Revival I added to the deck now. Um, and yeah, and then just some mana ramp. I think I added Bloom Tender in
Yeah.
there and something else. But I kind of figured out what was working and what wasn't working, and I took it out. And the real reason why is because I was testing it against my my sliver deck, or I should say, in theory, my little brother's sliver deck, even though they're my cards. But it just, I was seeing the holes with that deck that my deck was missing, and I figured if I could keep tweaking it to keep it up with or on par with the sliver deck power level wise, that it would be my strongest deck still. And it is. It will quite handily take over slivers. I'd say 7 out of 10 times.
Nice, nice.
But it's my baby, and I want it to be my best deck, and I think that's why I keep tinkering with it. I said it was done, thought it was done, committed to it being done, even put up a trade list that I want to upgrade the fancy cards, and then after talking with you, I realized that I had some holes that needed to get fixed.
I
So
see. So
yeah.
when it comes down to it, it's very interesting. And I started with a question about the pod that you play with, because I definitely feel that for me is I play a much more random group of people. Initially, my introduction to Magic, introduction to Commander, at any rate, was a core group of what I call my core four. We had the four of us. We only played with each other for a number of years. I don't know, 5 years or so. That was the only exposure that I got. And I learned all the worst possible habits. I learned how to keep people from winning. I didn't learn how to win. So now when I go to the LGS or various LGSs, because I played a couple of them, and I'm not good, but I mean, I enjoy the game. So I go and I play with a random group of people. And for the longest time, it was in my head how to stop everybody from winning. And it wasn't in my mind how to win. So Lord Windgrace evolved in a way that I guess when you looked at my list and stuff, like I said, it was probably the diametrical opposite of yours.
Yep.
Because mine is, I approach it from the standpoint of it. This is my toolbox commander, because I sat down with any number of people. I have no idea what I'm going to play against. And I feel like with this deck, I do have at least one or two answers for every scenario, everything. What is the goal, would you say, of your Lord Windgrace deck?
I am coming to see more and more the goal of the deck is either just to overrun with tokens or to uh Torment of Hellfire.
Yeah,
For I think there's 40 lands in that deck. So I think that means because Torment of Hellfire is 2, so I think I can do it for 38. I have done it for 38.
I was going to say,
No,
if you've got mana
sorry.
rock or anything
I
else.
I have done it for 30. No, it was 38 because I think at the time I was still running Arcane Signet in there. I don't know if I still do. And I used that to pay for the Shushing Vexer, my favorite Gruul card, so that the Torment of Hellfire couldn't have been countered because people had counters. And I knew they had counters, but I put it all into Torment of Hellfire, and yeah, 38 into Torment of Hellfire
Ooh.
is definitely fun. But I've come to see that's more of my win or my out is that, or yeah, that's my main. I'd have to say, oh, actually, no, I forgot to mention this last time too, is the other win con that I have in the deck without even realizing it is Omnixilis, the landfall orb.
Okay,
Hold
sure,
on.
sure.
The one that when it
Yes,
enters in, you can have land enters in, you can have him deal 3 damage.
right,
I can pretty consistently win with him as well. Which I didn't even really remember he's in the deck. Like, I know he's in the deck. He's one of the pieces that I love when I see him, but I
right,
never think to go get him as a finisher. And now I've kind of learned that he is a finisher on his own, at least to take out one person. You can't take out everybody all of the time.
right.
I know with the way my deck's set up, I can take out a few people with it, especially if I just keep looping my fetch lands from the graveyard back onto the battlefield, all that good stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so it's more like those are my 3, I think, win cons. And I have ways, kind of like what you said with yours, is I have answers for every different type of deck that Windgrace kind of that I've come up against, and I think of ways, okay, how do I stop this? And one of the best ways that I've learned how to prepare for those other decks is to play my deck against my decks, have other people pilot my other decks, of course, or sometimes I'll
Right.
just goldfish myself 4 decks and try it that way. And I've learned how to just tweak it so that it can combat just about everything.
Nice, nice. What I realized and understood is, or have come to understand, is my ultimate goal is control.
Yep.
I want to control the board. I don't care what you have. I don't care what you're playing. I want to be able to destroy it. And I've been watching a lot of Dune. So if you can destroy a thing, you control a thing.
It's, yep.
So that's what I do. Some of my favorites, of course, we talked about some of them, but just going through quickly and stuff. Deadly Tempest, Blood Money is one of my favorites. Getting those treasure tokens and stuff is great. Chain Reaction, and a couple that you don't see maybe as much, or maybe you're not as familiar with. You might be, but other people aren't necessarily. I only bring this up because I played this last time I played the deck, and the guy's like, I haven't seen anybody use that card. Lavalanche.
Yeah.
The fact that you do X damage to a person and then all of their creatures.
Yep.
You know, it's not a full board wipe or whatever, but definitely one person's in for a surprise.
Yep.
My favorite for taking out, especially against Dragon players, is the Whip Tongue Hydra.
What does that one do again?
So that's the one that comes in with reach, and it costs, let me see here, my poor eyesight here, it's 6 mana, so it's 1 green, 5 colorless. But when the Whip Tongue Hydra enters the battlefield, destroy all creatures with flying.
Ooh.
And it gets +1/+1 counters for every one of those things destroyed.
So I don't have that to deal with combat, to deal with flying, but I have Nissa's Revelation, I want to say, but that doesn't sound right. No, Nylea's Intervention.
Nylea's Intervention, yeah.
Yes, I have that in the deck because it is so much fun to just play that to get lands into my hand. Right? Yeah, it goes right into your hand. But I actually use that against the Sliver deck because these Slivers had flying. And I was like, I have no out. I top decked it. And I was like, oh, yeah, this has a second thing that deals X to fly, or twice X to creatures with flying, which basically means you can kill most things in the air because of the fact that it's deal twice X. So even if I only have four mana because it's 2 green and then X, that's still 4 damage to all creatures with flying, which takes out basically most things. So yeah, I also have some protection for flying.
That's nice. One of the other things that I have in there, and I had to add this specifically, and that is the Shadow Spear. Because I was encountering, or more than once have encountered, indestructible cards or hexproof. So the fact that it takes care of your opponent's stuff losing hexproof and indestructible, and the fact it's a bargaining chip. Because you just pay that mana into it, and then you have a free, or somebody else has a free way or can clear a way for you. Very handy to have. The other thing for control is the fact that you need those lands come in untapped. So a Tiller Engine is another thing that I find helpful to put in there. A Tiller Engine, of course, the Crucible of Worlds, or the, what am I thinking, Spelunking. Is the other one to go in there and stuff. This, probably the lightest thing that it has is win conditions. But usually at this point, people have played an exhausting game with me because they're constantly rebuilding their boards. And so by that time, they are completely fatigued. And so a well-timed Exsanguinate will take out the table if necessary, or at least get maybe 1 or 2 people out and give me the boost that I need to go one-on-one with a final person. And being able to get things back from the graveyard. Even if you can't get your graveyard back before somebody destroys it or whatever, having a Noxus Revival, being able to get something back, being able to do the Balaged's recovery, being able to get that one card you need when you need it, is absolutely the way that I can keep the game going or keep the deck working for me that way. So a lot of these cards, like I said, I play it just so that I can slow the game down, I can control it, I can be in control of where things are going. And people are never quite ready for what's coming. We talked a little bit before about the what is it? Gaze of Granite.
Yeah.
Being able to remove the permanents and stuff. But the other cards that I've added since then were the acidic slime, to be able to go in and get whatever I need to pick off that one thing, the spot removal. But the other thing that has been the biggest boon recently is harmonic convergence.
Okay.
That is the one if you're up against enchantments, return all enchantments to the top of somebody's library.
Ooh.
So while you're not getting rid of them, you're not getting them out of the game, whatever, they're going to have to prioritize their next X card draws.
Yep.
And so a lot of people I've found in the pods that I'm playing are building up. They're learning that combat damage isn't necessarily the best way to go. A lot of people don't play interaction a lot. Like you said, it doesn't matter what you're doing or whatever, as long as my deck is doing its thing.
Yep.
Well, if I can remove your permanents, then great. But if you have enchantments, which are the hardest to deal with in the game, pretty much, if I can stick those all back on there, now I've not only crippled you, I've now denied you X draws to be able to progress your gameplay and stuff. And then, we finish up with Avenger of Zendikar, whatever, in a seize the day, or that's usually how the game ends. But a lot of times it's that exsanguinate that comes out of nowhere or whatever that just does the win for me and stuff. So
that is awesome.
That is fun. I would love to see you play your game. I would hate to play against it because it would be nuts. But I would love to see your game play. You said you play on Spell Table and stuff. Do you have a group that you play in, or how does that go?
I typically, I'm in a couple discords and I get invited to games, so I do that. I have been on a couple of streams. I haven't played Windgrace. It's not something I'll typically bring out for a stream. It's not very fun to watch unless you're a Windgrace player, because I love watching Windgrace decks do their thing. So I actually played against one on a stream not too long ago, and he and I are actually going to play Windgrace versus Windgrace. So if you're interested, hey, we could find a fourth Windgrace player.
Windgrace player, oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
That would be, I would be completely okay playing 4 Windgrace decks against.
Oh my gosh, we'd have to clear the whole day.
Oh, I know. Well, I was gonna say one round is probably gonna take like the entire day. But luckily I've gotten quicker at figuring out what I need to go get and when to go get it, so I don't search forever now, which is the issue I used to have. But yeah, I do play on Spell Table, and it's mostly random. Well, it's normally I have a couple guys that will normally invite me that I play with, but I'm down to kind of join anybody's games. I get hit up on Instagram all the time. Hey, you want to come play some Spell Table? And well, yeah, sure. Well, I'm not doing anything. I've gotten more comfortable using it. At first, I wasn't. I played on Cockatrice, which is just TCG tabletop simulator, where it's similar to MTG Online, basically, not Arena, but online. And it's 100% free, has the entire card database, all of that cool stuff. And you don't need to own any cards, and you don't need a camera. You just, they have a Discord. So I play on that sometimes as well, because that's a lot easier. You don't need to like try to be able to get good camera lighting or anything. You could just play that. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested.
Yeah, because I use that, and that's actually how I learned how to play Commander Online originally, was that. Awesome. So yeah, no, I play randomly with people, and Windgrace comes out very rarely, especially on Spell Table games, only because of the fact that I do have to search the deck quite a bit, and a lot of people don't like that. So it's more of the the pods that understand how Windgrace plays, I will play it with, and more in person. So it doesn't come out online too often, but I'm welcome to play it online. I will gladly play it against anybody.
Awesome.
I am prepared for it to lose too. I know it's not an amazing deck. I just know for the people I play with, it is tuned up well enough to handle its own.
Nice, nice. Really quick, because I could probably go on for the rest of the night and probably into tomorrow, but
Yep.
we should draw this to a close. You'll have to come back and join me again.
Definitely,
Please,
definitely.
please. Um, Let me ask you though, do you use anything, any of the places online to rate your decks?
Um, like to figure out power level and
To figure out
stuff.
power levels?
I have tried one thing. I put Windgrace in there and it said it was a 10.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember which one it was. I saw somebody post it and I'm like, hey, what's that link? And I put it in there and yep, it said Windgrace was a 10. So if you have a different site you want me to upload the deck list to or anything, I would be interested in seeing what other
So,
sites would
so
say.
what I choose, and here's the thing, because people will argue all the time or discuss that, oh, this is terrible. It doesn't really give you an accurate thing. But if enough people are using the same measuring
Yep.
stick, I feel like it gives us a good thing. And I'm not saying these are great or these are the best. And it's very interesting to me to see what we do, what we get. For Rate My Commander is the website. It's called Rate My Commander. If you just type that in, you should find it. Rate My Commander. It gives Lord Windgrace, I think, 7 for me. It rates it because everything is a 7, but it rates it at a 7 on there.
Yeah.
But if I do it on Commander Salt, I want to say it gave me like a 3. It rated, and it's like, wow, that is such a wide range there.
That is, yeah. See, in the thing that I don't really like about Power Level 2 is that it more depends on the player as well, because you can take a I mean, perfect example. I've played many games where people are like, "Oh, it's just because your decks are X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, "All right, give me one of your decks. You guys can play my decks, and we'll see." And then I
Yeah,
still end up winning, and I'm like, "It's yes, my deck has something to do with how efficient I win,
right.
but it's understanding what your cards do and the synergies that make your deck powerful."
For
And
sure.
I'm still learning combos even in Windgrace that I didn't know I had just because they're there. And I'm like, oh, this works this way. Okay.
Nice.
But yeah, so I like the sites sometimes if all of you if your entire play group is using the same site to build their deck off from, I think
Right.
those sites are could be great.
Yeah.
My Windgrace is not a 10. It may seem like it's a 10, but I've faced decks that are 10, which are mostly CEDH decks. And no, I mean it can hold its own in those type of games. I'm not winning,
Right.
but it can hold its own for a little bit.
For sure. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you for joining me. Again, I hate to draw it to a close because, like I said, we could just go on and on. But the best way to do that is have you come back again.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
we'll talk about something other than Windgrace, or maybe we'll be back talking about more Windgrace stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you? What content do you have available out there? I hear you
Yeah.
got some exciting things in the mail today, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. I did. I just got in 2 play booster boxes of Innistrad Remastered.
Oh,
I
nice.
was able to crack one already. Pulled some good stuff. Yes, I did pull an Egger. I
Oh,
did pull one.
nice.
So now I own an original and now I own a reprint. So we're good.
Cool. All right.
And yeah, so anybody can find me at on Instagram at Justcardboardmtg. That's currently where I'm at. The only place I'm at. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and come and
Awesome.
stop by and say hi.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for joining me here on Tibalt's Apprentice. You can find me at Instagram on a daily basis. You'll find more content there. On YouTube, you'll find more random content. I even have a Twitch channel that I occasionally join. I want to start doing more on Spell Table. I'm looking to do more interviews with more content creators, just like this. We'd love to have you on here and talk about your favorite deck. Maybe it'll match one of the 30 decks that I have back here. And maybe it won't. Maybe you can teach me something new, because I'm always up for that too. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.